guys, it's Chloe and welcome back to my channel. But today I am going to be doing, not sponsored, a video about my experience on Monday at Truist Park for the KHAN Cert. But and for those of y'all that don't understand it, either because you're deaf or hard of hearing and can't understand things like that because you can't hear it, or if you have some other disability like autism or anything else that makes it hard for you to comprehend this kind of stuff, I'll get into it. But basically, people have been saying KHAN Cert because his last name is Khan, K-H-A-N, and then they've been putting cert at the end. So instead of concert, it's KHAN Cert. And I just like that so much. But I'm super excited to get into this video, and on that note, we're gonna get started. So, I'm gonna be doing a great divide, and for those of y'all that don't understand that, that's his newest album, and it's a song off his album. But, basically, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm breaking up this video into two sections. The first one is gonna be my experience, and then the second one is going to be tips and tricks and things I wish I would have done. And most of these can apply to anyone, regardless if you're disabled or not. There's a few that are for disabled individuals only. So I, for real this time, am going to get into it. So tickets. So I originally wasn't sure if I was going to go, and therefore did not buy tickets when they were released. So therefore, they were sold out on Ticketmaster. And every single venue he was playing at was capital S sold out as well. I decided to go on StubHub, also not sponsored. Neither one of them had ADA accessible seating. And I'm like, that's okay, I'll just conserve energy the whole day and just bring my cane. And I got seats literally no cap in the nosebleeds. So they had the 100s and then the 200s and then the 300s and then the 400s. And I got some in the 400s. And I had never been up to the 400s before. And I tried looking at pictures, the 400s, before I bought the tickets, but it was hard to find like photos of that exact seat. But I just went for it because all the others, you know, basically you don't have to climb stairs really to get to the seats. Like to get into your specific row you do, but to get to the floor that you need to be on, they have an elevator. I just bought my ticket and then I started piecing together my outfit, and I bought a whole outfit. I decided that I was gonna do a ride share, not sponsored. I ended up taking a Lyft. I had physical therapy that day before the concert, and also my physical therapist was also going. And I was your second to last client of the day, and I did my hair before I went to PT. Then I came home and I changed out of my clothes and changed into my concert outfit. And then I got something to eat out near my home because I was starving. And then I took a Lyft all the way to Truist Park. My Lyft driver was at the, like when you pop off the highway, at the exit, you have to make a right-hand turn, and we made it, and we were going a little ways, and it was in between a crawl and standstill, so a crawl still, if you call it that. And basically, next thing you know, we hear a thud, thud, and I went like this a little bit, and I'm like, oh no. I ended up being okay, and then the driver's like, ugh, this is why I don't like coming down here. He got out of the car, and I'm like, what do I need to do? And he's like, just stay put. So he got out of the car. He went to the drivers behind him because we got hit from behind. And they were these two teenagers from Alabama. They looked to be 17 or 18, so that's why I'm calling them teenagers. This was their closest city that he was playing in. The driver was actually texting and driving, which is illegal, but there was no damage to anyone's car, so they just exchanged information. We left from there. And then like businesses in the surrounding areas were offering park. My Lyft driver went into one of those because that's where GPS took him, and basically he was trying to drop me off because the Battery was right next door, which is the Braves like multi-use area with like shops and restaurants and stuff like. But regardless, the guy there was being like, he was like, you can't drop off here, and they got into an argument. So I was like, ugh. And my driver ended up leaving and tried to drop me off as close to the Battery as he could. And I was like, oh my gosh. Then I got out and I saw that a lot of the restaurants, there was a wait list or people were in line. So it was capital C clogged. I got to the gate and I went to go pull up my ticket on StubHub, and the thing is that the Wi-Fi stunk, so it was hard for me to pull up my ticket. It took a bit. I'm not gonna, complain about it or anything, because you don't go to a baseball game just to be on your phone all the time. You're engaged in the game itself. So I'm not gonna complain about that. And I got my ticket pulled up, I scanned it, and I went in, and the merch lines were capital L long. These are my reasons as to why I think they're long. Sue me if you think I'm not right, which is sarcasm, by the way, for anyone that doesn't pick up on that. Number one is the customer didn't know what size they wore. Number two, they wanted opinions from somebody else, whether it was a family member, friend, pet goldfish. Sarcasm there for anyone that doesn't pick up on that. Or number three is they were so busy on their phones, whether it's texting, making TikToks, whatever the case may be, that they weren't focused on the line itself and saw that it was moving. And therefore, that's why the line was really long. And also, there weren't enough merch stations. I felt bad for the people that were working the registers. I don't know if they were volunteers or if they got paid. They had to yell, next! I felt so bad. I felt like they needed, not sponsored, but those like electronic numbers from that they have at like TJ Maxx and Kohl's, where they have the number at each station, and then there's like a TV with a big number, and it says, cashier number 1, please. Man, that came out accurate. Anyways, so I was waiting in that line, and again, the line was going. It wasn't going at a fast pace though, again, because of what I mentioned earlier. I basically was keeping my eyes peeled the whole entire time, and when it wrapped around to the point where I could see the merch, I basically was taking a look at what I wanted. And then when I got to the front of the line, I already had my Apple Pay out, not sponsored. I was ready, and I was actively looking at the registers, and if there was anyone that left, I immediately went in and took their spot. Those like workers didn't have to yell next for me or anything like that, because I was actively looking and paying attention to everything to make this as smooth and easy as possible for these workers. And then I saw that the escalators were capital C clogged, and I don't do well with escalators anyways, and I decided to use the elevator. And with the elevator, they have somebody inside that presses the button for you as long as you tell them where you need to go. This is a great option for people that are blind or people with fine motor skills issues that can't press the button, whatever the case may be. I said I needed section 400, and I was taken up to the 300s, and I looked and it said section 400 is over here, so I'm like, okay. And 300s were on the elevator level, but the 400s you had to climb up a set of stairs, which I was not prepared for. And I climbed up there, and I'm gonna pop a photo, but Gigi Perez was performing at this time. But no cap, I was so high up there that I was at the very top. I looked down backwards and forwards, and I got nauseous and felt like I was gonna puke, because I don't do well with heights. And you made me thinking, Chloe, you're so confident. Not when it comes to heights, child. To the point with no cap with roller coasters, I'll go on them, but I keep my eyes closed when we go up because I don't like how high it is. And eventually I may open up my eyes if I go like for a number of times, but this was my first time in being unsteady. And also there were people like trying to get in and out of the seats, and the seats were so cramped that they should be illegal, and B, every time someone had to like get in and out of their seat, we had to stand up to let them pass. And the thing is that I couldn't stand up without feeling nauseous, more nauseous than I was, and it was hard for me to get up to those seats. So I started contemplating my life choices for a hot minute, and then afterwards I'm like, I can't do this. I'm going down to guest relations or guest services to swap out my ticket. I had no idea that Truist Park did this, but I was going back down to guest services. And the thing is that it was hot. And this was all outdoors. It's an open air outdoor venue with some covered spot, but it was hot to the point where I saw a girl being like wheeled away by medics in a wheelchair because she must have passed out from being so hot. But at guest services, they were able to swap out my ticket. It was in the 300. There was like 2 girls next to me, and they said that their friend had a double knee amputation and they couldn't sit in the seats that they had originally planned. And the thing is that, you know, I know some people like to get the benefit of the doubt, but just from the stuff that I've seen as a disabled person and what I saw at that concert, I don't think that happened. Because the thing is that the friend wasn't around. Now, yes, the friend could have either A, been in the park somewhere, or B, they could have been in the parking lot sitting in the car while the friends figured all this out. Now, do I believe that? No. And here's why. So I was given my like change of seat. They gave me a ticket, a legitimate paper ticket, cardboard, I don't know what they use. I tried to get to my seat and I was like 339, and I was in seat number 16 in the wheelchair row. And I will say, yes, it is a wheelchair row. However, it is for anybody that can't do stairs, or if you are blind and have a guide dog and you need a little extra room for that guide dog, you can sit there. Those are who it's intended for. However, that's not what I saw. They could have very well had invisible disabilities, and if they did, I'm sorry, but there were a bunch of people in my section that were not disabled, and that row was wheelchair accessible seating. The thing is that they have some spaces for wheelchairs, but the majority of them had seats. On Truist Park's website, it was, that area is wheelchair accessible seating, but again, what I saw was non-disabled people. And again, they very well could have had an invisible disability, but I doubt that, because this guy was like his show was capital S sold out. And I know people really love him and they would do anything to get tickets, including getting a ticket that isn't intended for them. And especially too, because wheelchair tickets are a lot cheaper and people will typically go for cheaper tickets, even if it means they're not disabled. By the time I got into my seats, Noah Khan had already come on, but I was able to film a little bit of him coming on because I stopped to like film it and stuff before I got to my seat. I was just vibing, enjoying everything. I really did like it. And it was really accessible to see. They also, I should mention, at the floor level, I have like a photo of it somewhere, but they had porta potties because of the piss and poop gate that happened. So basically, if you don't know what that is, at one of his concerts, I believe it was in Pittsburgh or Philadelphia, it's one of the Pennsylvania ones, but basically, and this just doesn't happen at his concert, but for people that are standing on, the floor and stuff close to the stage, they will not go to the bathroom and literally piss or pee their pants because they pay good money for those tickets and they know that if they get out of there, they're gonna lose their spot. To be honest, first off, that's mocking people like me because I have spina bifida, I'm neurogenic bowel and bladder, and that happens to me on a near daily basis. Also, if you hold in your poop, that causes constipation, and then that gets you an enlarged colon, and nobody wants that. I most certainly don't, and I'm at a more increased risk for it. Anyways, I thoroughly enjoyed the concert. I loved every second, and they do have, it's for a fee though, and I think it was like $5 an hour, but they have portable chargers that you can rent for your phones, not for your wheelchairs, just the phone. Halfway through the concert, I ended up getting up to get more water, and I got like a ice cream sandwich. I went back to my seat. I was still able to hear everything. I had a phenomenal time. I loved the concert. He played all my favorite songs. His secret song that day was You're Gonna Go Far, which really struck a chord with me because I also, well, technically my mom, but I live with her, but she had a German Shepherd, and the German Shepherd ended up dying in January this year, and I ran his social media, which I will try to link that in the description as well. When he passed, I posted it on TikTok with that exact song. So I felt like it was meant to be, and everything was just like falling into place. Because Noah Kahan also has a German Shepherd. So it was kind of like, I don't know, 6 months maybe? I don't know. I also really liked somebody, it was like a kid or something. I don't know how young he was because he wasn't in my section, but he held up a sign and he's like, "You're the first person I learned the F bomb from." And Noah Khan saw it. He's like, and he pointed it out and he's like, "I was wondering what my impact on the youth was." He also had said something like, "I'm here to make you unhappy. And if you're happy, I want to know what meds you're on." Which I like that kind of humor. I mean, I like to joke about myself a lot in my disability, so I found that hilarious. Then after I left, it was so capital C clogged. It was like a crawl and a standstill at the same time that I had never experienced. And good thing I didn't bring my wheelchair because I went down, they had a ramp. And the thing is that whether those people liked it or not, those people were going to turn into human bowling ball pins. But basically, apparently it was clogged because when you got out, there was like a brick divider half wall type situation. There was a divider for and on one side, it was the right, they had the parking garages that you had to walk across the street to get to, and then if you kept going straight on the other side of the divider, it took you to the Battery where there was rideshare pickup. I had gotten out of there and asked someone where rideshare pickup was, and they told me it was right in front of the Coca-Cola Roxy. You just went up a big hill, and that's not feasible for a wheelchair user. And the thing is that they had blocked off the whole way. A lot of us were really frustrated, especially the girls that I was talking to, because they were saying, we're here, and the driver's like, I can't get to you, I can't go that way, no cars are allowed to go there. And we were like, yes they are, we see them turning, and like, well, they're not letting me go that way. And it was a cross between a crawl and a standstill with the traffic. And my phone, no cap, was literally about to die. And I was capital P panicking because it was almost midnight and all the restaurants were pretty much closed. Some of them were doing like after Noah Kahan, like karaoke and after parties and stuff like that. I was freaking out. I immediately texted my driver and explained everything, told her where I was, and said, this is what I'm wearing, come find me. I was panicking because my phone had died, and she was able to find me. And we left. And I have a backup battery, and I thought I had charged it, but apparently I didn't. And I lost the charger I used wasn't like, it didn't work with it per se. I'm just gonna buy a new one. And basically, I got in and she took me back home. Traffic was still capital C clogged up until we got onto we got onto the highway. Things were fine after that. Like no issues, and it was smooth sailing from there. Her and I ended up talking, and she was having some troubles because she was recently disabled from medical malpractice, and I told her what she should be doing and things she could apply for, blah blah blah. When she took me home, she was like, you are a blessing, and I felt really good about that. And then I got in the house, but literally I had no cap, like a panic attack that lasted for like a good day because my phone had died. But then luckily she was my saving grace. So shout out to her. So now I'm going to get into some tips and tricks on how to make this process as smooth as it can be for you. Everything, for the most part, is going to pertain to everybody, regardless if you're disabled or not. there are a few things that are going to pertain to disabled people only, like this first one. So if you see that there are no accessible tickets, you can call the venue, you can call Ticketmaster or wherever you want to get your tickets and see if they have any accessible tickets. Or my park, Truist Park, they hold a certain amount of tickets and you just purchase whatever you want online and then go and get a wheelchair accessible ticket at guest services or guest relations. Now, not every place offers this, but again, Truist Park offers it, regardless if it's a concert or if it's a baseball game. And they also offer wheelchair services to take you from where, like the front of the park to your seat. Why I didn't use those, I couldn't tell you. Number 2, the outfit. So there's a couple different ways you can do an outfit. Number 1 is you can see what you have at home and work with that. Number 2 is you can make your own outfit. I saw some, people that made their own outfits. Like literally they'd buy a t-shirt or jeans and they'd write on them or they'd embroider them or whatever, and that was really cool. There was also, I don't know if it happened in my show or if it was another show, it was 2 people, I think they were 2 girls, but they dressed up in orange prison suits and called themselves convicts. And I found that funny. So just stuff like that. There was one guy at the Atlanta show that, no cap, came dressed as a bug. And another thing that you can do too is you can go on like Poshmark or ThredUp, eBay, Craigslist, wherever they resell fashion, and a lot of people will resell concert outfits. Like I could literally, no cap, right now go to, not sponsor, my local Goodwill or Uptown Cheapskate or whatever it's called, basically a thrift store, and find Noah Kahan outfits there, because that's what a lot of people do. Also, another thing you can do is on social media, if you see something that someone wore, you can DM them and ask them if they're selling it, and they may give it to you at a discount. You can also buy something brand new, which is what I did for the most part. I did DIY some things, and I'll get into all of that. For everything that I did not DIY, I'm gonna link it in the description. The only thing is that some of the things are just not available anymore because I bought them in the summer and we're in fall now, like transitioning into fall. So those pieces are no longer there. And the only thing I wore that wasn't brand new was my shoes, and I'll get into that in a hot second. I went to Target. Again, none of this is sponsored, and I got this like headscarf. Now you could theoretically DIY this, but I did not. I also did a hair wrap, and there's 2 ways you can do it. Either A, you can literally do it in your hair, or B, you can do what I did and do a reusable. I can do both, but the thing is that with the ones that literally you wrap into your hair, A, my hair is thicker than my bank account, so B, regardless of how long my hair is, it just sticks out like a stick, which is perfect for the Noah Kahan concert because it's stick season, but I want to wear it afterwards too, and something to keep in mind. But how I did my reusable was I did with the wrap, so you could pick as many or as little colors as you want. But if you're only going with like 2 colors, then you don't want to follow the rule that I did. You're gonna want to double it. I got these like little snappy things, barrettes and stuff like we used to wear in the 90s. They still sell them. I got them at my grocery store. You can also get the little clips that they have for like the hair extensions and the wigs. This is just what I had. What I did was I took 4 colors and I made them 3 times the length of my hair. And what I did was I folded them in half and did a loop-de-loop and knotted that. And then what I did was I took some like Scotch tape, or you can use an anchor like a textbook or something. I don't know if they still use textbooks. Use something heavy as an anchor, and I just wrapped it. And then this little charm, I'll get into that in a sec. I got a bracelet making kit that came with it. I'm like, I'm just gonna use it. And basically all you have to do with this is I unclipped it and then I put it in my hair. So I just grabbed a section, clipped it, and then put the hair back over it. That way you don't see it. And that was really easy to make, and it's reusable, so you can use it again and again. That leads me into my next thing, but the bracelets. So I got a bracelet making kit. Hold on one sec. Not sponsored. I got it from Amazon, but it looks like this, and it comes with, hold on one sec, 3 of these with different colors in each quadrant. And they also have letter beads and stuff as well. However, I'm gonna look for it real quick. Oh, here they are. So they have letter beads. However, I went to my local craft store and I got these muted ones because it matched his palette perfectly. And I will say, with like these and the bracelet making kits with the letters, most of these kits are made in China, if not all of them. So therefore, the amount of letters that you get may not be as accurate. So you may get like 5 Z's and 2 zeros, even though Z isn't really used as much in American language as O is. Just as an FYI. But yes. And also with these, they have like a, it's literally in kind of like a Ziploc bag, whereas the ones that came with it, they're literally in a bag like this, and it doesn't even reseal itself. I've been having to use a baby elastic just to hold it in. So there's that, and you can get together with your friends and make bracelets. So I made a couple. One said The Great Divide on it, but I gave it to my physical therapist because she was going to that concert. I made another one that said Orbiter, and that one was for my talking therapist boss because she was going. And I made another one that said American Cars. I got to meet my talking therapist boss's sister, and I gave her a bracelet because I didn't want her to feel left out, and no one was trading with me, so I'm like, I'm just gonna give it. And then I have 2 here. One has like orangey hues, and it's got 2 oranges slices on either side, not like the D-shaped slices, like the circle kind. And it says in muted colors, orange juice. And then the one on the bottom, this one's for, I did a color swatch of stick season, and it says call your moms. My shirt I got off of Amazon. It is black and it has a bunch of different like ladybugs on it and stuff. And then the skirt I got from Kohl's in the junior section. That I don't think I'll be able to link because I think they sold out of it. And then the shoes. The shoes I can't post either because I was contemplating on whether I should get some new ones. But then as part of my spina bifida and the package, so by package I mean complications, I have scoliosis and a leg length discrepancy. So my PT recommended that I see an orthotist for a shoe lift, but I couldn't go to the orthotist I go to now for my ankle foot orthosis. I have to go to a different one that did shoe lifts. I didn't know what type of shoe lift they were going to recommend, so I just held off on buying shoes. They recommended me a shoe lift, and I am getting that ordered, but it hasn't come in yet because they're waiting on Medicaid approval. I don't even know if they eat it into the system, so I gotta give them a call. But anyways, that's pathetic. That's everything I wore. I also wore my glasses, and they transition into sunglasses because I paid extra for that. I can't see without them. I'm not the one putting on the show. He should be the one putting on the show. With the hotel, you want to be sure that you book in advance. Now, the Battery does have a hotel. There are more stadium seats than there are hotel rooms, so you want to be sure you book quickly. Another thing is that you want to be sure the day of the concert that you either get something to eat at home or bring something to your work and eat it there, or get something to eat near your home at a restaurant there, or if you want to eat near the park or wherever he's playing, I would highly recommend that you make reservations it was capital C clogged, regardless if you were inside or outside the venue. However, what I did see some people do, which is smart, if they brought a friend or a family member or pet goldfish, sarcasm there for anyone that doesn't pick up on that, one of the friends stood in line for the merch and then the other one went and got food, and when they got up to the front of the line, they FaceTimed each other and said, hey, what do you want? I thought that was really cool. And some parks too, they have an app where you can like pre-order food and pick it up when it's ready. So you can do that as well. That way you don't have to wait in line. You just go when your food is ready. So that's something that you can do as well. So with the merch, look online to see what they have. That way you could get an idea as to what you want. And you can either order there, or again, you can order from the comfort of your seat, because they offer that, which I think is pretty cool. And if you do that, they have discount and it's cheaper than buying the actual item from a merch stand. But if you do happen to go to the merch stand, I would highly recommend you're not on your phone and you're actively paying attention to the line and when it's moving. That way it can go a lot quicker, and that way it's as smooth for the staff as humanly possible. And that way they're not going hoarse the next day from screaming next. When you are able to see the merch, look and see what you want. I'm back. My phone died. I had to charge it. Another thing you want to do too is, like, I got as ready as I could before I went to PT. So that was like doing my hair, whatever it may be. Basically, afterwards, I just got changed and I left. Another thing is that with both Lyft and Uber, you can schedule your ride. I think it's up to 14 days in advance, but don't quote me on that. Basically, the price that you see is the price that you will pay, and it'll be a little bit cheaper because you're scheduling in advance. And the reason why I say to do this is because Lyft and Uber and other rideshare companies, they are known to do something called price surging. So basically, the more demand equals a higher rate. Less demand means that it'll be a lower rate. So for instance, I'll give you an example. I didn't realize that Noah Kahan was doing a Concours, but basically I started looking at like Lyft options, blah, blah, blah. And it was $45, and I don't live close to the park. Came out and did his Concours while I was looking at it. At the very end, after that Concours, the prices skyrocketed from $45 to $100 for the same ride. And that's why I'm sharing this. That way it saves you some money. I would also recommend bringing, if you want a portable charger, again, they have some available for rent, staying well hydrated because it was hot. And I did see people that had to be taken away by paramedics because they passed out from heat exhaustion. This goes without saying, but use the bathroom. Plan ahead. If you do plan to get food inside the park or drink, plan ahead because that stuff is very expensive. Like I paid, I think, $6 for a bottle of water. And the thing is that, Noah Khan, amongst others, are very popular. So therefore, they're going to jack up those prices. I will also say, show is not seizure friendly if your seizures are triggered by strobe lights or anything that resembles a strobe light that doesn't look like a strobe light. So not only did they use legitimate strobe lights in the concert, but also the bands, they sunk up to the music, and sometimes they would pulse really fast, and there were a bunch of them because everyone had one because they were free, and in turn that could potentially trigger a seizure. So that's something to keep in mind. Truist Park has a clear bag policy if and only if it's over a certain size. I brought, not sponsored, my little fanny pack here, and they allowed it in, but anything bigger than that, it has to be clear. You can go on the park or venue's website and take a look and see if they have a clear bag policy, but if you don't know, just use a clear bag, because the last thing you want to happen is you to have to go back to your hotel room, go back home, or to your car to put your bag there. And if you're leaving in your car, it's more susceptible to a thief stealing it. So keep that in mind as well. Also, no cap, but
I felt like the workers, not Noah Khan's like band members or anything, not them, the Truist Park workers themselves, they, to me, the vibe was that they didn't want to be there. I understand it's more of a younger crowd, and some of them tend to be reckless, and especially with what you see in the media with teen takeovers and stuff. But hopefully, I wasn't an a hole to any of the workers, and I was just being kind and I was asking for directions. I threw in my trash in appropriate trash receptors, and I was actively paying attention in the merch line, and I knew when to go next. They didn't have to yell for me or anything like that, because I want to make their jobs a little easier and show that, yes, I am 30, but I'm not a dirty 30 that not only literally no cap leaves the place dirty, but also treats them with respect. Because they're humans too. That's it. If you have any other questions, then feel free to yeet them in the comments. And also, if you went to the concert, yeet it in the comments. And tell me what concert you went to, in what city, or if it was in Atlanta, let me know. I thank you guys so much for watching this video and cannot wait to see you guys again soon.